Look at the palm of your hand for a second. It feels solid, doesn't it? You can feel the texture of your skin, the warmth of your blood, and the weight of your own arm. Now look at the wall across the room, or the trees outside your window, or the stars in the night sky. We have been taught since birth that these things are external objects, existing independently of us in a vast mechanical universe made of matter and energy. But what if I told you that modern physics, neurobiology, and the deepest mysteries of the cosmos are all beginning to point toward a conclusion so radical it sounds like science fiction? What if the universe isn't made of stuff at all? What if every galaxy, every atom, and every moment of time is actually a ripple in a vast cosmic consciousness? There is a growing body of evidence suggesting that the universe doesn't contain minds, but rather, the universe is a mind. Today, we are going to explore the theories that suggest we are all living inside a grand, universal thought, and why the solid world you see around you might be the greatest illusion ever created. To understand why scientists are even considering this, we have to go back to the very foundation of reality, quantum mechanics. For over a century, the smartest people on the planet have been haunted by a single, undeniable fact. Particles don't seem to exist in a definite state until someone looks at them. This is the famous observer effect. In the quantum world, an electron isn't a tiny ball of matter located at a specific point. Instead, it exists as a wave of probability, a hazy cloud of maybe that spans multiple locations at once. It only collapses into a solid particle when an inhabitant of the universe makes a measurement. This raises a localized question that has massive cosmic implications. If the building blocks of the universe require an observer to become real, then who was observing the universe before humans evolved? If nobody was watching, how did the stars form? How did the Earth solidify? One possible answer is that the universe itself is the observer. This leads us to a concept called panpsychism, the idea that consciousness isn't something that evolved late in the game like a heartbeat or a pair of lungs. Instead, panpsychism suggests that consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, just like gravity or electromagnetism. In this view, every atom has a tiny, rudimentary spark of subjective experience. When you cluster enough of these atoms together in a complex way, like in a human brain, that spark becomes a roaring fire of self-awareness. But if the entire universe is joined by this field of consciousness, then the cosmos isn't a machine made of parts. It's an integrated whole that thinks its own existence into being. Let's take it a step further. Have you ever seen a side-by-side comparison of a human brain cell and the large-scale structure of the universe? If you haven't, it is one of the most chilling coincidences in all of science. When astronomers map out the distribution of galaxies across billions of light years, they find that galaxies aren't just scattered randomly. They are arranged in a vast, glowing web known as the cosmic web. There are long filaments of dark matter and galaxies connecting massive nodes, with giant empty voids in between. When you look at a high-resolution image of this cosmic web and place it next to a microscopic image of a neuron in the human brain, they are nearly identical. The branching patterns, the nodes of connectivity, and the way information and matter flow through the system follow the exact same mathematical laws. Researchers at the University of Bologna actually performed a quantitative study on this. They compared the network of neurons in the human cerebellum to the cosmic web of galaxies. They found that despite the massive difference in scale, the two systems have almost identical levels of complexity and connectivity. The brain has about 69 billion neurons, while the observable universe has at least 100 billion galaxies. Both systems are composed of long filaments and hubs. Both are about 30% mass and 70% filler. Whether that filler is water in the brain or dark energy in the cosmos, it suggests that the universe isn't just like a brain. It might literally function as a giant neural network on a scale we can't fathom. If the universe is a neural network, then what is it thinking about? This is where the simulation theory and the holographic principle come in. The holographic principle suggests that all the information contained in a three-dimensional volume, like our universe, can actually be encoded on a two-dimensional surface at the boundary of that space. Think of it like a credit card hologram. It looks three-dimensional, but it's actually a flat image reflecting light. Scientists like Leonard Susskind have argued that our entire reality might be a projection of information. And where do you find large amounts of information being processed and projected into a coherent reality? In a mind, when you dream at night, you create an entire world. You see colors, you hear sounds, and you interact with people who seem to have their own personalities. While you are in the dream, everything feels solid. You don't question the physics of the dream world until you wake up and realize that the entire universe you just inhabited was made of nothing but thought. It was all happening inside your mind. Proponents of the universal mind theory argue that our waking reality is essentially the same thing, just on a much larger, more stable, and more complex scale. We aren't the dreamers, we are the characters in the dream of a much larger entity. This might sound like a philosophical exercise, but it explains some of the most confusing parts of physics. For instance, why are the laws of the universe so perfectly fine-tuned for life? If the strength of gravity or the mass of an electron were different by even a fraction of a percent, stars would never have formed, or the universe would have collapsed back on itself instantly. It's as if the universe knew we were coming. In a mechanical, accidental universe, this is an incredible stroke of luck. But in a universe that is a mind, it makes perfect sense. A mind creates structures with purpose. The fine-tuning of the universe is just the logical framework of a cosmic intelligence designing a space for experience. Then there is the mystery of non-locality. In quantum entanglement, two particles can be linked together so that whatever happens to one instantly affects the other, no matter if they are 5 inches apart or 5 billion light-years apart. Albert Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, because it seems to break the speed of light. But if the entire universe is happening inside a single mind, then the distance between those two particles is an illusion. In a dream, you can touch two objects that seem far apart, but they are both existing in the same mental space. Non-locality suggests that the universe is a single unified point of information that only looks big and spread out from our limited perspective. Think about the nature of mathematics. Why does the universe follow mathematical laws at all? Numbers and equations aren't physical things you can pick up. They are products of the mind. Yet the entire universe, from the orbit of a planet to the vibration of a string, follows these mental constructs with absolute precision. Galileo once said that the book of nature is written in the language of mathematics. But if the language is mental, then the author must be mental too. The reason math works so well to describe the universe is that the universe is made of the same substance as math. Pure information and logic. We also have to look at the hard problem of consciousness. Science can explain how light hits your eye and sends an electrical signal to your brain. It can explain which parts of your brain light up when you feel happy or sad, but it cannot explain why you have a feeling at all. Why aren't we just biological robots, processing data without any subjective experience? This is the hard problem. If you start with the assumption that matter is primary, you can never quite explain how dead atoms produce living thoughts. But if you flip the script and assume that consciousness is primary, the problem vanishes. Matter doesn't create mind. Mind creates matter. The brain isn't a generator of consciousness. It's a receiver, like a radio tuning into a broadcast that is already everywhere in the universe. This brings us to the shocking conclusion that your individual mind is not separate from the universal mind. Think of the ocean. It's a single, massive body of water. When it gets windy, waves form on the surface. Each wave looks like an individual thing. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It seems to be moving independently, but the wave is just something the ocean is doing. It was never separate from the water. In this analogy, you are a wave, and the universal mind is the ocean. For a brief moment, the universe has crinkled itself into the shape of a person named you, so it can experience itself from a specific point of view. When the wave subsides, the water doesn't go anywhere. It just returns to the source. Many people find this terrifying because it feels like it takes away our individuality, but it actually does the opposite. If the universe is in someone's mind, and you are part of that mind, then you are a co-creator of reality. This is reflected in the participatory universe theory proposed by the physicist John Wheeler. He suggested that we are not just bystanders watching the universe happen, we are active participants. By observing the world, we are helping to define it. The universe is a work in progress that requires our consciousness to complete the loop. Imagine the universe as a giant computer program. In a video game, the computer only renders the parts of the world that the player is currently looking at. If you are in a forest in the game, the computer doesn't bother rendering the mountains on the other side of the map until you travel there. This saves processing power. This is exactly what we see in the quantum world with the observer effect. The universe seems to render reality only when it is being interacted with. This delayed choice experiment has been proven in labs multiple times. It suggests that the past and the future are not fixed, but are flexible parts of a mental construct. Now, let's look at the simulation hypothesis from a different angle. If an advanced civilization eventually creates a computer powerful enough to simulate an entire universe, they would likely create millions of them. Statistically, it is much more likely that we are in one of those millions of simulations than in the one original physical universe. But what if the computer isn't made of silicon and wires? What if the computer is a vast, biological or ethereal mind? This would resolve the infinite regress of who built the computer. If the ultimate foundation of reality is a mind, then it doesn't need to be built. It simply is. It is the I am that many ancient traditions have talked about for thousands of years. Scientists are starting to find computer code in the equations of string theory. Theoretical physicist James Gates Jr. discovered what he calls error-correcting codes, the same kind of code used in web browsers, deep within the mathematical descriptions of the universe. This suggests that reality has an underlying structure that is designed to maintain its own integrity. In a physical, accidental world, this makes no sense. But in a mind, or in a simulated thought space, it is a programmed necessity. The universe knows its own rules and corrects them when they start to drift. There is also the ORC-OR theory developed by Sir Roger Penrose and Dr. Stuart Hameroff. They suggest that consciousness originates from quantum vibrations in microtubules inside our brain cells. They argue that these vibrations are linked to the fine-scale structure of the universe itself. If they are right, then the act of thinking isn't just a chemical process. It's a quantum bridge to the fabric of space-time. It means that our thoughts are directly plugged into the mainframes of the cosmos. When you think, the universe is literally thinking through you. This leads to some very mind-bending possibilities regarding the nature of time. We perceive time as a straight line moving from the past toward the future. But in a mind, all memories and all imaginations can exist simultaneously. Einstein once said that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. If the universe is a thought, then every moment of time is like a page in a book. Even if you are reading page 50, page 1 and page 100 still exist. The mind of the universe contains the entire book at once. You are just the focus of the reader moving through it. So, who is the someone whose mind we are in? Some call it God, some call it the source, and some call it the simulation. But perhaps the most accurate term is the unified field. A field that isn't made of energy, but of awareness. This awareness wanted to know what it was like to be limited, to be small, to be happy, and to be curious. So it imagined a universe. It imagined light and gravity and evolution. It imagined billions of years of history and trillions of stars. And eventually it imagined you. The silence we find when we look for aliens, the emptiness we find when we look for stuff inside atoms, and the terror we feel when we think about the end of the universe. All of these are resolved if we accept this theory. The universe is empty for a reason, because you can't find matter in a thought. You can only find information. The universe is quiet because the only voice is the one within. The great silence is just the stillness of the mind before it speaks. Think about the implications for our daily lives. If we are all part of the same universal mind, then the way we treat others is literally the way we are treating ourselves. There is no other. The separations between us are just like the lines between countries on a map, useful for navigation but not actually present on the ground. This gives a scientific or at least a physical basis for empathy. To hurt another is to disturb the very field that sustains your own existence. Many scientists are hesitant to talk about this because it feels like giving up on the material world. It feels like moving back toward mysticism. But the data is leading us there anyway. We have tried to find the particle that makes up the world, and we found that there are no particles, only packets of energy. We tried to find the place where consciousness lives in the brain, and we found that it's nowhere and everywhere. We tried to find the edge of the universe, and we found that it only exists in relation to the observer. Every path we take leads us away from matter and toward mind. There is a famous quote by the physicist Sir James Jeans. The universe begins to look more like a great thought than like a great machine. Mind no longer appears to be an accidental intruder into the realm of matter. We ought rather hail it as the creator and governor of the realm of matter. This was said nearly 100 years ago, and every discovery since then has only made it more relevant. We are living in a time when the gap between science and spirituality is closing, not because we are getting less rigorous, but because the universe is turning out to be more mysterious than we ever dared to dream. You might ask, if this is all a dream or a thought, does it mean nothing is real? The answer is that it is real in the only way that matters. It is a shared experience. Just because a symphony is made of sound waves doesn't make the music any less beautiful. Just because a movie is made of light on a screen doesn't make the story any less emotional. Our lives are real because we feel them, because we grow through them, and because we contribute back to the universal mind with every thought we have. The universe is a feedback loop. Our thoughts affect the field, and the field affects our reality. This is why our mental health and our collective mindset are so important. If we are living in a mind, then the quality of that mind's thoughts determines the quality of the world. A mind filled with fear creates a world of conflict. A mind filled with curiosity and wonder creates a world of discovery and peace. We are the neurons of the cosmic brain. When we connect, when we share information, and when we create, the universe itself is evolving. When you look at the stars tonight, don't feel small. Don't feel like a tiny speck in an indifferent void. Feel like a thought that has become aware of itself. Feel the connection between the neural pathways in your brain and the galactic filaments in the deep sky. You aren't in the universe is in you. Every star you see is a reflection of a light that already exists in your consciousness. The vastness of space is just a measurement of the vastness of your own potential. As we continue to explore the edges of physics, we will likely find even more evidence of this mental nature of reality. We will find that the laws of nature are more like habits of the universal mind. We will find that the vacuum is actually a plenum, overflowing with information and intent. We are at the beginning of a revolution in human thought, where we transition from being victims of a mechanical universe to being co-creators of a mental one. This theory doesn't take away the mystery of life. It deepens it. It makes every moment an act of creation. It means that your curiosity is the universe's way of asking questions. Your love is the universe's way of knowing its own beauty, and your presence is the proof that the universal mind is alive and well. The someone whose mind we are in isn't a distant, judgmental figure. It's the very essence of who you are when you strip away the labels and the ego. The reason the universe is so vast and so complex is that the imagination that created it is infinite. There is no end to the things a mind can conceive. We are just one tiny chapter in an eternal story. But because we are part of the mind that is writing the story, we have the power to influence the next page. We are the architects of the dream. As we conclude this exploration, take a moment to look at your hand again. It still feels solid, right? But now you know the truth. It is solid because the universal mind has agreed that it should be. It is a masterpiece of mental projection, a focal point of awareness in a field of infinite possibilities. The world hasn't changed, but you have. You are no longer a stranger in a strange land. You are a part of the whole, a ripple in the ocean, a thought in the grandest mind ever imagined. The evidence is all around us. It's in the math, it's in the quantum experiments, and it's in the shared structure of the cosmos and the brain. The universe is a mind, and we are the thoughts that make it worth thinking. Stay curious, stay aware, and remember that the reality you see is just the surface of a deep and beautiful ocean of consciousness. The dream is vast, but it's a dream we are all dreaming together. Keep looking up, because the stars aren't just out there. They are right here, in the mind that is experiencing them through your eyes. The silence is over. The someone has been found, and it turns out we've been looking in the mirror the whole time. The universe is a mind, and you are a vital part of its conscious awakening. Every discovery we make about the stars is really a discovery about ourselves. Every time we push the boundaries of science, we are expanding the limits of what a thought can achieve. We are the awareness of the cosmos, the eyes that give it sight, and the hearts that give it meaning. The mystery of our existence is the most beautiful thing we possess. Let's cherish it, let's explore it, and let's never stop asking why. Because in a universe made of mind, the question is just as important as the answer. You are a miracle of cosmic thought, a unique expression of the entire system. Live your life with that knowledge. Be the kind of thought that makes the universal mind smile. Be bold, be kind, and never forget that you are the architect of the reality you inhabit. The dream continues, and it's time to see what we can imagine next. Thanks for being part of this cosmic reflection. Keep looking for the truth, stay curious, And remember that in the world of mind, anything is possible if you just have the courage to think it into being.